Hi! So, this is my book review of Kingdoms in Chaos, the fourth book in Kel Kade's King's Dark Tidings series. This book. I love this book, and soon I am going to tell you why. But first, let me just get past the whole part where I explain that I'm bad at talking to the camera and that I don't like to do it, and that I therefore will make some art for you instead. And today I am going to make some heraldry of Reskin's standard, which, if you remember, is described as he imagined his standard, the raven gripping a green lightning bolt. So that's what I'm going to do, and please tell me which one of them is your favorite later. And yeah, I know you're disappointed that you won't get to watch this stunning face, but I think when you see what I have to give you, you will change your mind and realize that this is for the best. Also, why the hell did he pick a raven as the standard for his kingdom? Does he want people to think he's the raven? Is that some kind of strategy he's going on with? Because on the one hand, it could breed fear if people realize his connection to the raven. Even if they don't think it's him who's the raven, they might see that as a warning of who supports him. But also, yeah, that better be the explanation, because otherwise, it's really stupid. Anyway, let's go! Just to start this off, Kingdoms in Chaos is on my top 3 favorite books in this series, along with the first 2. I don't really think I can rank them, because I like them in different ways, but yeah, that's it. This book sets up future conflicts beautifully, while also delivering on all the things that makes this series so damn good. There is a lot of raven shenanigans, the political intrigues are fascinating, and the side quests are very entertaining. The romantic relationships are mediocre at best, but let's be real, no one who's gotten into the fourth book has done it for the romantic subplots. What this book does do well are its platonic relationships. I was so happy with all the Reskin Farson interactions. They have my favorite dynamic in all of the series. Another thing I really enjoyed was all the backstory for Reskin that gets dropped in this book. All in all, this is a delight of a book, and if you are watching this having read all the previous books and are thinking of quitting, don't do it until you've finished this one. No book after this one, including The Mage of No Renown, even gets close to my top 3. But you will be doing yourself a disservice if you stop before this one. So, on to the spoiler part of this video, where I will be fangirling about all the things I love about this book, and complain about the few things I didn't. The story starts with most of the main characters pretending to be a mercenary band in Gendishin to secure recognition for Kyle from their king. I like this part because when meeting another mercenary band, Reskin brags how he was in an infamous regiment made up of deserters, soldiers who caused problems. He tells a very exaggerated story about how he became sergeant in a year by being the fastest learner the commander had ever seen. How he led a battle against 4 mercenary companies while being outnumbered 3-1. After the battle, he killed his own men. He let a few of them live and took in the rest of the mercenaries after killing their commanders. They then fought against a horde of Dralgliks, and he was the only survivor. Now, everyone thinks that this is just entirely made up or largely exaggerated to fit with Reskin's mercenary persona. But then they ask Farson about it, and he not only confirms it, but explains that Reskin actually understated what happened and left out the parts that really would have made him seem like a god, or make him sound like less of a soulless bastard. It's actually really funny how many instances of mercy when not required Farson has seen from Reskin, while still viewing him as a monster. Since his first introduction, Tyrion has been growing on me a lot. He has had one of the most dramatic character developments, and he was starting to become one of my favorite characters. Then he broke bro code by dating his friend/family member's newly broken up with girlfriend, and I lost a lot of respect for him. I really didn't care as much about Frisha's betrayal, mostly because how low my expectations for her were, but also because of her habits of jumping straight into relationships with people she's only known for a short time. That being said, I do think they are a good couple, in a way Reskin and Frisha never were. Reskin and Frisha's relationship fell apart the moment Frisha's assumptions and delusions about Reskin lifted. Had she been more aware of who Reskin was from the beginning, she would never have gotten into a relationship with him. A truthful conversation with Markham at the end of Book 1 would have ended their relationship. Another reason I don't judge Frisha as harshly as Tyrion is because Frisha started to check herself out of their relationship very shortly after finding out he was the true king. Mentally, she broke up with Reskin long before she could say it out loud. And while I know mentally ending a relationship isn't the same thing as actually doing it, she has still been processing it for much longer than Tyrion has. So Tyrion catching feelings for Frisha happened while she was still in a relationship with his cousin, while for Frisha it was more of a friendship that she reevaluated after Tyrion's proposal. Feel free to disagree with me in the comments. Anyway, like I said, I think Frisha and Tyrion are a good couple. All of their interactions in this book tells me that they will have a good marriage. I don't find this ship exciting in any way, but the interactions where they talk about Kyle's wines actually show that Frisha is the daughter of a very successful merchant and has had a good education. While almost no one in the books thinks Frisha has what it takes to be queen, and I agree with that, I do think she has what it takes to be a lady of a duchy. The way she handles conflicts with the mountain tribes tells me she has skills needed for that kind of position. I actually think Frisha got a whole lot less annoying once she was shown to be a more competent character, whose part in the story is more than be jealous about Reskin and be a damsel in distress. There is still a lot of those things, but at least other things has been added to the mix as well. To put it simply, Reskin and Frisha's relationship is based off of passion, practicality, half-truths, and infatuations, while Tyrion and Frisha's are based on mutual respect, friendship, and equality. And what I mean with equality is one of them isn't so wildly more intelligent, skilled, and matured than the other one. Class difference aside, Frisha has more in common with Tyrion than she ever could have with Reskin. To put it simply, Reskin and Frisha are incompatible, way too different, and both deserve someone who can understand them. So while I don't like how it happened, I'm glad it did. Side note, I really love it when someone compares Reskin and Pride. It's just really cute in my humble opinion, and farts and laughing is always a treat. Farson also had a conversation with Frisha about Reskin's inability to love, and how he doesn't want her to get hurt from being with Reskin. He mentions that Reskin knows a lot of ballads and poetry, and so Frisha now confronts Reskin about why he never recited any to her. And we are back to the part of Frisha's role in the story that even people who hate her likes. And that is to bring out hilarious misunderstandings from Reskin. Now, Reskin fucks up big time with his answers. And Frisha storms off, and we get another Farson laugh, because he heard the conversation and correctly identified that Reskin has no idea what just happened. Reskin then demands an explanation, citing that Farson is a trainer and that is his job to explain things. Reskin asks if Frisha wants him to manipulate her, because he's only learned romance as a tool for assassination and spy work. And Farson, rather exasperated, tells him she wants it to be real emotions, to which Reskin's response is, "But I have none." And Farson's contempt shows again. And I just love their dynamic. Farson clearly thinks of Reskin as his son, while also seeing him as a monster that needs to be put down. It's been widely speculated that Reskin has antisocial personality disorder. Whether that's true doesn't really matter here. What matters is that Farson believes Reskin is a psychopath, and therefore dismisses all of Reskin's acts of kindness or mercy as manipulation he doesn't understand. It's a very interesting dynamic, loving someone you think is incapable of love. And I think Kel handles it much better in a platonic way than the way it goes with Frisha and Reskin. And Conovan, my favorite new character in this book. Reskin's past was the first thing being shown in the series, and as the book goes on, we have gotten a pretty clear picture of how he was raised. But now, because of Conovan, we know what the purpose of all that training was. Reskin being the legendary Res was hinted on so hard that you started to doubt if it was really like that. But that wasn't only confirmed, but the theory that Reskin was Tyrion's bastard cousin was disproven, because the system of the res is heir, spare, res. The third son becomes the res, and the res's main job is to kill the king if the king becomes mad. You know how Reskin is 19 and has somehow mastered every weapon in existence, is a master in everything you can be a master in, and you just accepted that? Because he started his training about the same time he learned object permanence? And B, because it's a fantasy story and it's supposed to be cool and entertaining, not realistic. Well, as it turns out, Reskin is not a normal res. Conovan tells him he's only mastered about a fourth of the skills, despite being much older. And that must have been a real mindfuck for Reskin, who, remember, was taught that you're not a man until you've mastered all the skills. I know he's figured out by now that that's incorrect, but it's really funny to think that by his old standards, he's the only adult male to ever live. And to demonstrate why Reskin was able to master it all, he tells Wesson to pick a random book and asks for the third word on the 47th page. Reskin gets it right, and they continue to demonstrate Reskin's excellent memory. Malcius exclaims, "How many times have you read this book?" To which Reskin hilariously responds, "Why would I need to read it more than once? It's not enchanted. The words do not change with each reading." And with that, Wesson figures out that Reskin is a scrivener, a mage that can recall anything they hear or see perfectly. They are one of the rarest mages, so now Tyrion has put two and two together and realized that the woman who's with Conovan is Queen Lucilia, Reskin's mother, because she is the only other scrivener they are aware of. And when Lucilia says she's sorry she missed his childhood, I actually laughed out loud. Girl, be happy you did. Be happy you know so little about it. Seriously, Conovan cannot have gone into detail about the training. Imagine being Lucilia. Your husband died recently. One of your sons has been rumored to have killed the other. Oh, and now you found out. Oh, that other trauma I had at birthing a stillborn. Turns out he was alive all along. And my husband lied to me about it. I really hope Conovan said as little as possible about the training. Because hearing that the child I thought was dead has been abused every day of his life, has been literally tortured and killed multiple times, would break me. I mean, I guess she does find out that he's been killed multiple times, but still. And this is a moment where Frisha really endears herself to me. Because Paranoid King over here demands a maternity test even with all the proof lying around him. And it's Frisha who takes the empathetic stance towards Lucilia and asks Reskin if he can't see that the demand hurts her. And it was at this moment that I truly realized why Frisha exists. Her character is there to challenge Reskin's emotions, to make him reflect on the things no one bothered to teach him, or to uplift what has been beaten down in him since birth. If you don't like Frisha, then I propose you start viewing her as a wall for Reskin to bounce a ball against, and just enjoy how Reskin is forced to move because of her. So, back to the revelations. Reskin has actually died multiple times because his masters were necromancers. And yeah, somehow I thought that maybe I should have guessed that all along, because Reskin has described some of the most insane training sessions ever. Like that time where he stood and fought for 2 days straight without stopping. And just, that's impossible and you would have died. And as Farson then confirms in this conversation, yes, he did die. So, yeah, I really like how this conversation sheds a light on how Reskin can be as good as he is. And I just love Reskin accusingly telling Farson, "You killed me?" And Farson being kind of ashamed about that, as he should be. And when Reskin cynically says that his friends know he's their only hope of getting home, and therefore won't betray him, Malcius says their loyalty to him shouldn't be so easily dismissed. And Tyrion adds, "What I heard is that you are a legitimate prince of Shai, with a responsibility to kill the Mad King." And I just love it when his friends this proves Reskin's paranoia. And that's why I hated Tyrion and Frisha so much. You are proving him right! And Reskin trying to pawn off his mother on someone else is an hilarious example of him not understanding how the world works. And once again, I hate Hilleth Gadarant. Frisha would not have gone on that ship had Hilleth not implied that Reskin was interested in Assyria right after Frisha's whole worldview of him had been shaken. I really don't understand people who hate Frisha over Hilleth. And why doesn't Reskin tell the gang that Hilleth can't be trusted? And I don't mean explain everything, but a 1-minute conversation underscoring how untrustworthy she is would have kept Frisha away from the ship. And that's one of the outworlder things Reskin hasn't grasped yet. He assumes that telling someone not to do something is enough. Like, remember in book 2 when Reskin tells his friends not to touch his swords, and it's Wesson who fills in the blanks telling them that the reason they can't touch his swords is because they're dangerous. It's one of Reskin's few flaws, and he is in dire need of not being so damn perfect all the time. And Farson's reaction to finding out Reskin is the Raven is wonderful. And the realization that the Raven only exists to find him. Also perfect. Golden. Pure gold. And equally funny, Saw/Lux. Finding out Reskin has died multiple times, and now seeing him as even more the real Gesh than he already did. There are just so many funny little details in this book that just make the reading experience so good. Frisha and Reskin breaks up. Reskin feels a pain in his chest, and finally he has figured out that means the feeling of loss. So yeah, Reskin is actually heartbroken. I don't blame Frisha for moving on with someone else, but it's so sad when Reskin is actually heartbroken about it. Another funny moment with Luss is when Malcolm asks if he's a eunuch because he's always hanging around the women. And that's just brilliant. Because Luss gets mad about it, of course. Yeah. I really found the Lon Laresh storyline kind of gross. Wesson wanting to marry this girl from home, and then nope! Some random girl you've barely talked to wants you, and now you're property. I also don't like Reskin having to have sex. After finding out he's died several times, it's now safe to assume that the woman who was supposed to teach him not to be intimate probably killed him. Not just, he nearly died. No, Reskin, you did die. And yeah, Reskin has some serious sexual trauma. He has trust issues to the moon and back. And I don't think I'm reaching when I say that his wedding night was one of the worst things to happen to Reskin since he left the fortress. Hell, maybe including the literal torture and death at the fortress. The only thing I liked about that was Reskin asking Wesson to have his back while it was happening. Also kind of funny how he just, I wish Kai were here so he could have my back. But yeah, it really sets up Wesson as someone he can trust even when he's the most vulnerable. And the silent agreement they have to never speak of it again was really funny in a really sad way. Now, I don't think Reskin's asexual, at all. He has had sexual thoughts about Frisha. But this goes back to why he considered Frisha wife material in the first place. He trusted her not to kill him in his sleep. Reskin is not someone who can have enjoyable sex without trust, which is what made the whole thing so terrible. But what I hated most about this book was the slavery plotline. This book does a great job of highlighting the horrors of slavery, and that's why I hate it. Now, I am a very empathetic person, and a book character suffering has the same effect on me as a real person suffering. So the hopelessness of Tam's situation really wrecked me, and I usually skip the Tam parts on my rereads of this book. I've previously given Frisch a shit for telling Reskin to go look for Tam's body right after breaking his heart, but looking back at it, Frisch's outburst is 100% warranted. The magical hole in Tam's head was greenlit by Reskin without telling Tam how dangerous it was. It was really weird to me how Tam was completely alone in Uthril. It wasn't highly trained assassins sent out specifically to capture Reskin's apprentice who took Tam. It was regular slave traders. 1 or 2 people being with Tam would have dissuaded the slave traders from taking him. A single person being able to report Tam missing early could have cut his misery short. This is one of the few moments I can think of where Reskin has had to have been dumbed down for the plot to progress. I don't care how short you are on people. You could have spared 1 person to go with Tam. One of the Dubai guards, maybe. Tam have not had enough sword training for it to be okay to leave him completely alone. So yeah, every time we went to Tam's perspective, I was shouting, "Cometh nigh the res!" But no res came, and every time his perspective ended, I was about to cry. But back to things that make me happy. Moldovan, a true kindred spirit of Kai. God help Kade when they meet. Reskin will be ruling the entire world after Kai and Moldovan are done with him. It's really funny to me how with every territory they visit, Reskin either becomes king or a king is trying to get him to marry his daughter. So yeah, Moldovan is a treasure. He's like what Kai would be if he was like 30-40 years older. Now, I don't know if I'm alone on this, but I really don't like Malcius. I think he's annoying, and he's a serial offender of Rule 17. Never complain. And so I don't really like him with Assyria either, because she's one of my favorite female characters. I don't like her with Reskin either, for the record, even though he's been trying to flirt with her on and off throughout the book. I don't know why he's doing that. I'm very certain Kel is not trying to pair them up, so I don't see the point of Reskin showing interest in her. Comments like, "Why would I want Erysiel when I can have her?" can be chalked up to him trying to play a part in front of the others. But him saying that she looks like a warrior goddess cannot, because only his friends were with him. And Assyria is just so uncomfortable with it. I don't see the point of inserting this sort of boss sexually harasses female employee dynamic. But if one of you have any theories to what is going on with that, please tell me in the comments. I'm confused. There's this quote Tyrion says that I really like. "I think he does not know what love is because he's never been given any." And that's the truth. Reskin has had his emotions mutilated to the point he thinks he has none. And Frisha says something equally insightful. "I think he is truly different people, or no one, as Conovan said. I realized that I only loved a part of him, and I do not think it's the biggest part. Who he truly is in every aspect, I do not love that man." And this is why I don't agree with people who say that Frisha has had no character development. Because can you imagine the girl in Markham's home who laughed off the idea that Reskin could poison her uncle with, "Where would he even get poison?" Can you imagine her saying something like that? Frisha has grown, and it is wrong to now only view her as the annoying, jealous girl with no ambition in life other than to marry Reskin. I realize this video has been like 30% defense of Frisha, but I'm the kind of person who will pick the side of the one being picked on. And there is a lot of unwarranted hatred towards Frisha in the fandom. She is far from my favorite character. Really, she's on my bottom 5 along with Hylith, Raylan, Sheila, and Malcius. But as I've realized lately, Frisha is a really good person, who just happens to be annoying a lot of the time. And it is my personal belief that being annoying shouldn't make you the most hated character in your universe. Anyway, this is one of my favorite books ever. Do tell me which one of the standards are your favorite. Bye!